guys, see my hands? Today we will playing Space Hulk. First with me and Chris.
Hi.
But before we start, let's begin with a bio. Thank you for coming back. And Chris has this game for a while now, and he's been playing,
Off and on.
off and on, a lot of Warhammer before me. He's actually the first one that introduced me to Warhammer. And I'm gonna hand it to Chris. To tell me, what is Space Hulk?
Thank
Chris?
you for that wonderful question, Sonny.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I am still here. Space Hulk is a game for 2 players based on the battles fought between the Space Marines, these guys, and some Genestealers, which I think you can see over there somewhere, maybe.
On.
Blue and red models, that's all you really need to know about them at the moment. Red guys are the Space Marines, blue guys are the Genestealers. 1 player commands the Space Marines, me, for this mission, and as they attempt the deadly missions in the darkened corridors and rooms of this ancient Space Hulk, as represented by this game board, that you can set up in whatever way you want. But we've set this one up to be the first mission in this book, the book that it comes with. And it's accurately called a suicide mission because nobody's expected to live.
Basically, we have a campaign book or a mission book, and depending on what mission we do, is how the map is. You have to set out the map.
This booklet.
Yeah. Basically, this is the first mission. We just enter the Space Hulk.
Yep.
First of all, what is a Space Hulk? What the game's titled? What is it?
Well, a Space Hulk in the world of the 41st millennium, they do have warp travel, but it's not the same as us. It's
Nothing like
it's not like Star. It's not like Star Trek.
No.
No, warp travel is called warp because it warps you. It is insanity. It is chaos. If you go through it, though you'll get to where you want to be faster, you might get there 10 years before you actually set off screwing with the timeline. A lot of ships get lost while doing this, and the people die out, the ships bash into each other, and sometimes they all mesh into one giant ship, which is called a Space Hulk. The Space Hulk in the story of this game is like dozens, if not hundreds of ships all mashed together. So you don't really know what you're getting into. It's a giant maze. And there's thousands and thousands of these Genestealer aliens on it. And there's like 12 Marines.
Depending on each mission, you have special rules. And in that mission, you have special characters and some objectives. In this game, my objective is basically to kill all the guys or the Flamer. The Flamer has a special rule. Chris, what does the Flamer do?
Well, the Flamer, as he is, as you probably guessed, has a giant flamethrower on him. The rest of the guys just have guns and these giant power fists used for they're pretty much mauls attached to their hands. But this guy especially has a flamethrower, and he has to get to this room here and burn it all to high hell. So the stuff inside there cannot be found and captured by the Genestealers. Using it to represent this is a long dead Space Marine on a throne. They're just trying to defend their DNA because that's all they're about. So without DNA, they're just regular folks. It's injected into them to make them super soldiers.
Basically, they have a clone DNA in them to make them special. And there's a reason why they call genes to the Stealers, to steal the genes. Basically, they clone themselves with special genes. Yep. Basically, if the Genestealers are, in 4K, Tyranids.
Yeah, they're called Tyranids.
Steal that special gene, I can make super monsters.
Yes. All the Space Marines in the 41st millennium, their highest objective, aside from killing all aliens, mutants, and heretics, is to defend their gene seed, as they call it. Because if they lose their gene seed, they lose themselves. They can't breed themselves. They have to clone DNA and inject it into each other to create new Marines. If they lose it, they just lose.
Basically, this special guy in there is a long dead Marine, and he's one of the ancient ones, I like to call him.
He's been here for like 600 years.
Yeah, he's one of the original guys. And let's begin.
Alrighty. Well, me playing as the Space Marine, my very first step in this is that, well, I have an entrance that is right in here, as shown by this little marker here. Sonny has similar ones spread out across the map.
Mine marked as purple arrows.
Yep, and he can only enter through those spots. My very first step in this game is to set up who's going to go in what order in the 5 slots I have here. So I'm going to be setting up my sergeant first, because he's got a sword, and swords are awesome in close combat.
He also has a special role we will play later when it comes inactive.
Yep. Send in a couple guys in after that. The Flamer guy is going to be second to last, because I want a lot of stuff in between him and death. And last guy in the back. Alrighty. Next step for the Space Marines is that, well, there's this data sheet here, which we can pretty much ignore most of it for this mission, but it's the top row, the 1 through 6, that we're interested in. To move throughout the map, each Marine has 4 action points that he can take. That's moving forward takes 1, opening a door takes 1, shooting takes 1, preparing himself in the next round takes a couple. And so they all have 4 to start off with. I then shake up a little container.
Yeah, I'd make an example first, like, you can show me.
I like this one, though.
Okay.
And I place it right here. And I can split up. It's like this, so he doesn't know what I have. And I'm able to spread out whatever amount of points I have with this into all the other Marines. So I can have 4 and possibly another 6 on top of that. So a guy can move 10 spaces if I want to. And as you can see, Sonny has in his hands a 3-minute timer. The whole point of that is that the Marines are going to be quickly surrounded by aliens, and they need to hurry and get it done fast. So it's supposed to make me hurry up and possibly make mistakes so that he can take advantage of me and kill me horribly.
Here's the rules. He has a timer. Basically, he's the new person on the ship. It's 3 minutes long. So in that 3 minutes, as Chris said, he has to move. He has to do everything possible in that 3 moves.
In the beginning of the game, it barely takes 10-20 seconds to do everything, but later on, when my guys are spread out and there's a bunch of things to shoot, I can easily go over 3 minutes, and by rushing, mess up a lot.
Mm-hmm. And for the Genestealers,
I
don't have a timer because I have
all the time in the world.
Basically, I infested this ship before they entered, and I'm lightning fast.
Yep.
They're entering my home.
Originally our ship.
I took it over.
Yeah.
So let's begin. Chris, are you ready?
Let's do it.
When he's ready, he puts that counter to 0 and start the timer.
Alright. Alright, I use the first one to open up the door and move forward 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3, using up all of his points. And I'm going to use a 3 more. 1, 2, 3, to go 1, 2, and open this door, ending everything I'm going to do for him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Why not? This guy's going to turn and fire at that door. Now, in this game, you can either walk up to a door like I already did and open it by hand, or I can just shoot at a door, destroying it so it can never be closed again.
But there's some signs as this means the door is damaged.
Turning and firing.
So you have to blow it up. That has an X on it. Really? I thought that were...
Nope, not.
Never mind then.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think that's more...
X's. Nope. Just don't go that way, man. Don't go that way.
Okay. Apparently, if you're stoned, don't go that way.
If you're stoned, what are you doing on this
I
ship?
Honestly, I think they're all on drugs.
Alright, these guys' guns are what you call storm bolters. The regular Marines are armed with bolters. These are storm bolters, so they can fire a lot and hit you hard.
It's a big gun.
Yes, they don't shoot bullets. These things are like mini rockets. They're huge, man. And so I get 2 dice, and on a roll of a 6, I destroy that door. And lo and behold, I don't get a goddamn thing. So I'm going to use up the last possible points I have, going up to 6, so he knows I don't have any left, and fire at that door again. Another failure. I hate these dice.
So, is that it?
That's all I've got, and as you can see, I used up about 2 minutes on that timer.
Here's, before Chris's turn ends, the Marines reasonably start with 4 actions. Movement costs 1, going backwards costs 2, shooting costs 1, and special abilities like Overwatch or Guard costs 2.
Yeah, we'll get to those when they come up.
Basically, if he runs out his original 4, he can use his counters, depending on how many he has, to do more actions. But if you go over the amount of counters you have, you'll make lose the game.
Yeah, as you can see, I got the maximum amount of 6 on the very first turn. That's pretty awesome, but it didn't really amount to much.
As replay, sometimes we forget how many counters we have, so we panic.
Yeah, there is. Well, start your turn, and I'll talk about it when it happens.
Okay. So basically, Chris doesn't have any reinforcements. I do. So basically, my guys don't go on the field yet. So I have counters that are called blips. Basically, they're shown like this to Chris.
These guys,
that's a radar signal.
Yep, these guys have like maps inside their helmets, and that show this entire area, so I know what it looks like. And when he enters the area I am near, I see little green blips on the map. It doesn't show what they are or how many they are, but it shows me where they are. And so, much like how this thing has 2 sides to it, so he doesn't know what it is, his also have 2 sides, so when they do get close enough and I see them, he flips them over and he starts using the models.
So I'm going to shake all the blips are in here. I'm going to shake them up and draw 2. Depending on how many blips I have, or that's how many Tyranids I have, or Genestealers I have. But only time they're summoned are where Chris is able to see them.
Very true.
So here's my 2. So I'm going to place 1 here.
I think you got 4. It says here, you begin the mission with 2 blips and you receive an additional reinforcement blips per turn. Although they always have to start at those purple arrows. I think you start with 2 and you get an extra 2.
Apparently, the practice games were wrong.
Yes, we played a couple games before this to sharpen our skills, and we still missed that horribly. I may be wrong. I'm going to read this a bit in the official mission book much closer to figure out what the hell I did wrong. I'm sorry if you feel that was swearing. I'll try not to swear.
Basically, I'm gonna put my... Basically, if I go... Hold on. Let me put all my counters on first. Before I start talking. All my blips. Basically, I'm able to see how many I have, and I can place them anywhere I want. And now I'm going to put my blips, the blips counters, on the field. So, I will start with this one, and it's counted me being 1 movement right there. I'm able to move up to only 6 movements.
It's more than what I start with, but he doesn't get any additional ones.
And here's a special rule they also have. I can go around corners and also be counted as 1. For him, they might be counted as 2.
The aliens are nimble creatures that's like, you probably can't really see it, but on the models it shows them crawling on walls, standing on scaffolding, digging right through the ground. But the Space Marines, although they are the elite of the elites, they're in the best possible armor and the best weapons. Their armor is so huge, they go single file. They can't even see behind themselves.
Mm-hmm. So basically, I'm able to go through corner sides. Corner, so that counts one movement right there.
So he's using.
So that's 2.
Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6. That's all I can do. I can move the rest. 1, 2,
and
3, 4, 5, 6.
And I have. And
Is he able to see me?
To see him, I have a range of 12 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, I can see you.
So guess what? 3 Genestealers are popped up. 1, 2, 3.
Now, this is a move I was not expecting him to do because, well, he's putting his guys right in front of me at the very beginning of the first turn.
So I have more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. Oh, I can move here because I can go around corners.
Yes, you can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go.
So that is basically my turn. But I want to ask Chris some questions before my turn ends.
Okie dokie.
Basically, how do you start out in Warhammer? When do you start? Like, how you got into it?
Alright, well, with Warhammer, it started with, well, ask any fan of this game, and at one time or another in their life, they've been a fan of Space Marines, the poster boys for the franchise, and I got into it when I was 10 years old as a family gathering. My cousin got a magazine and brought a few models with him, and I saw it for the first time. Oh, wow, that's amazing! And so, not long later, I got my very first models, and I've been collecting it ever since. That's been 13 years now I've been a fan of this. It's I've never before this with my dad or my brother I of course watched Star Trek or Star Wars, but I watched it because it's what they were watching. I had no big interest in it. This is where science fiction became a big deal for me.
This is the first influence you had.
Yep. And this particular game, well, it's been made and remade a few times over the years, and this is simply the latest version of it. And I think it came out in 2009.
Okay, that's...
Yeah. Anything else you want to know?
Basically, why do you get Space Hulk? Why were you so, attracted to it?
Well, it's a small piece of Warhammer history, and, well, when it first came out, $200 for all this. And then some. There's another table here filled with stuff. It was a lot of stuff. It was $200, and it was nearing Christmas at the time, and I was staring at it, looking at it on the shelf, going to the store as often as I could, constantly swearing in my head at myself because I couldn't afford it because Christmas was right around the corner.
And one day
so a couple of years later, I
saw
it on eBay. I was like, oh my god, I have a job now. I can afford this. And it only started at $20. Once all the bidding was done, even when I got the express delivery on it, I still saved money. You don't save money on eBay. This was a deal for me.
Yeah, well, basically, the first thing I said was, Chris actually introduced me to Warhammer, and I still remember we were back in high school.
Yep, just starting high school when I started telling him about this.
Basically, we came over on a weekend, me and an art guy, Greg. Basically, we went to his room, and there he was, playing with these models. Like, okay, these look cool.
I didn't play with them, I painted them.
Okay, you painted them, but basically, he told us, they're part of a game called Warhammer. Okay. So we basically got some models, and we started rolling dice. This is actually really cool. We got really interested. And he told us, there's more versions of these games. There were, at the time, they're fantasy. There were...
there's...
the one we were playing was fantasy.
Yeah, these games started out by just being the makers just started making these models for Dungeons and Dragons. And they're
Yeah.
like, people keep buying these models. They have big collections. Why don't we build a game around having big collections? So there you go. They made the fantasy game. Then they made the science fiction, the Warhammer 40K, which originally was just a bunch of the fantasy armies in spacesuits. They had space elves, space dwarves, space humans, space orcs.
Yeah.
And when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, they even had a Lord of the Rings franchise to go along with that.
And at the time this is filming, there's a new one, The Hobbit.
Yeah, they just started their new range of Hobbit, the Unexpected Journey figurines.
And as I played all of them, I wasn't really attracted to the fantasy. I was really excited for the 40K version.
He likes guns.
And I'm really because I'm a fan of the Lord of the Rings films, and one day we will get that and we'll show you too. But the thing is, we didn't want to play 40K or fantasy whatever because it would be too long for one battle.
The games can go on for 2 or 3 hours.
Our games will go for 3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
This is probably what do you think, like 20, 30 minutes?
Well, with us explaining everything, it might be up to an hour.
Yeah, it's fine.
We had 2 test games. One took about a half hour. The other took 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. Basically, this might be a 2-parter or 3-parter, depending on it. So, let's begin. I will actually, if you want to ask... yeah, basically I did. It's going to be your turn now.
Alright.
And
a little rule of this game is that this is face down, and when his turn ends, I have to flip it over and show what number it is. If I accidentally go over, say this was a 5 and I went up to 6, he would automatically win the game. Just as a measure to make sure that I'm not cheating. Alright, that goes back in there. I mostly just have this to shake it up to make sure I always get a random one.
Yeah.
You don't really need a cup, but it's fun.
And also, actually they say you need a cup or mug in the rule books.
It does.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Though once again, I am not doing it. The sergeant's guy here, the sergeant of his squad, has an ability which, so long as he is alive and on the table, I am allowed to throw this back in and choose a different one randomly again. But once again, I am perfectly happy with the one I have.
It's probably better than 2.
Wink, wink.
I can't see anything. The screen's too small on the camera. I also want to say something. If you have any questions for me, I will answer them. As like I did to you, like what was your influence and all that stuff.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to. That's right on the edge of my vision, so I'm gonna move him the full 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and spend an action point. I'm terribly sorry, Sonny.
Oh shoot!
3-minute timer. And fire my Stormbolter at the front and center Genestealer. And wow, double 6s right off the bat. That Genestealer is every kind of dead.
Basically, you need one death. You have 6.
With these guns, though you cannot see them from this angle, have 2 barrels on them. So I roll 2 dice, and on a 6 and nothing else, will I be able to kill these guys on the first barrage.
Basically, he's dead, but he also has a special roll. He automatically has 1 point on that dice, so those are actually double 7s. That's his rule, remember?
I think that was for close combat. I'm not too sure.
Okay,
yeah. There's a
check the rules, please.
All right. Well, while I'm making my turn, you check the rules because I have a timer.
The sergeant, right?
Alrighty. I'm gonna put. All right, that was 1 point for shooting. I'm gonna I'm gonna use another point to put him on Overwatch. And once I finish my turn, I will explain what Overwatch is. All right, so I'm gonna move this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces forward. This guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. That's 3 points I've used up so far. 1, 2, 3, 4 for him.
What am I looking for?
1, 2, 3 on a turn. And I'm going to try being fancy again by using his fourth and final points by himself to try and shoot that door again. But, never mind. I'm just going to use that final point and put him forward. One more point on there to get him one step closer to that door, though he does not really open it. I don't think I have misused my points or anything.
I can't find the special rule.
Let's say I moved him 4, used 2,
Let's say it's for...
and I used that, so I think I've used up all 6. I put him forward. Put him forward. I fired an Overwatch. That's 3 points there, and another 2 points to move those over there. So that's 5. And I used the 5th point to get him close to that door, making 6.
Okay.
I think I have done everything correctly by the rules.
Okay.
Alright, because I am finished, and I am no longer in a rush, you have all these tokens right here that are for Overwatch and On Guard, respectively. Overwatch makes it so if he is within my sight and within 12 inches, I am allowed to shoot at him whenever he makes whenever he tries to move, even on his turn. It doesn't cost me anything, and every time he makes a step closer to me, I blast away, and I find it hilarious. Problem is,
I do too. It's funny.
Unlike on my turn when I'm shooting normally, I'm shooting a lot faster when, according to the rules, when I'm firing on his turn because he's holding the trigger down, no burst fire. And so on a roll of any doubles, since I'm using 2 dice, he automatically gets a jam. Which,
if he gets double on the dice, he gets jam. So if he has a spare action point, he can unjam it. If not, he can't fire.
Correct. And because I
jammed,
have no spare action points, if I roll a double, I'm done in. So, I'm certain we're going to get some examples of this in a moment, so why don't we start on your turn next?
Okay. Basically, every turn I get more blips. So, let's do it here. Okay. Put that there.
What, you're not going to put anybody behind me?
No.
Wow, you're not that sneaky of a guy.
Nope. So I'm gonna move him. It's right here. So I'm gonna move this guy up to the door. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Gonna open the door? Do you want to just have him stand there, or do you want to open the door?
I'm just gonna leave him by the door. I can move this guy.
Lazy,
1,
lazy Xenos.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Do what you're gonna do.
I'm laughing now. Sorry. I will move these guys even closer.
Haha!
1.
Now
This is where his Overwatch is active. So he fires.
On my own turn, every time I want to fire at him, it costs me a point. Not on his turn. Not when I already spend 2 points on Overwatch. So I roll the dice. I got nothing!
So I move again.
And I get to fire again! 6! He's dead!
He's dead.
It's good! It's all good.
So I move this guy 1.
And I get to fire again. That's why Space Marines are awesome, but they're also horribly, horribly, horribly outnumbered. And 5 does not make it.
This is supposed to roll.
And that's called sustained fire. When you stand still and continue firing at a guy, you get, instead of a 6 only, you get 5 and a 6. But so, that is a different target, so it does not count for me.
So I move again. He fires.
This time I do get the sustained fire bonus, and he goes down.
So I'm gonna move right up here. You can't see me.
Correct.
So move these even closer to him. I move him on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.